Good evening, dear listener and viewer. Welcome to Minority Caucus, today, October 15th edition. Politics has never been an easy game, but the position of the New Patriotic Party is that we are under the rock and the rock is higher than us. Jehovah hides us and he hides us under the rock. So come what may, we always take consolence in the fact that the battle is the Lord's. My name is Nana Kofi Opondamo, and tonight we are discussing the creation of the 45 new constituencies. It was going to come on, it wasn't going to come on, it was going to come on, it's finally here. With me to discuss this issue is no other person than the Director of Research and Elections for the New Patriotic Party himself, Mr. Martin Mensah. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Mensah, there has been a lot of opinions expressed. Mr. Martin, J. Mensah. There has been a lot of opinions expressed about the CI-78 that has created these new 45 constituencies. First of all, what was the position of the New Patriotic Party? The confusion is that we were for it, others say we were against it. What really was the position of the party?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. I think there's been a lot of misrepresentations as far as the NPP's position is concerned. I'll put it this way, and I'm sure by the time I finish, listeners will make some meaning out of what I say. The Electoral Commission has a constitutional mandate to create constituencies. Our party has never sought to take away or frustrate the EC in that mandate. What we have done is, from the beginning of this journey of creating these constituencies, 2 CIs had to be withdrawn from Parliament by the Electoral Commission, who sent it there for the subsidiary legislation to look at it. The first one was full of errors, and therefore the EC itself had to go and withdraw it after the NPP had raised concerns. The second one to be replaced also had similar concerns, perhaps much more than the first one. So everybody kept asking, what's going on? You either get it right or get it right. You just can't get it wrong because it has legal implications. In those 2 that were withdrawn, you had quite a number of areas missing. What it meant is that people who are supposed to be voting in this area are disenfranchised by law. And so we expressed every caution that the EC ought to make sure that it puts its acts together and get it clear. So on 2 occasions, the Commission vindicated the NPP position that the document was faulty and needed to be corrected. Then the third one, which has subsequently been passed into law, 26 electoral areas had been omitted, affecting 34 constituencies in all the 10 regions of Ghana. What it means is that, now having been passed into law, the Electoral Commission will have to take steps to make sure that the persons who live within these electoral areas or polling stations are not disenfranchised. Somehow, the Commission had to pay heed and withdraw. But this time around, for whatever reasons that I may not be able to immediately state, the Commission still went through with this faulty CI. And now the problem we have is that 26 electoral areas have been omitted. I'm not sure if the NPP raised these concerns or do raise them. They amount to, in some quarters here, they sought to run away, they were afraid of losing them, and were against it. We did not want the Commission to do its work and all of that. In all of this, it was not just the NPP who raised these concerns. Civil society groups. Go find out. TUC, you had policy think tank groups, CDD, numerous religious leaders.
Martin, but to be fair, the NDC has raised the argument that if electoral areas are omitted, it doesn't really amount to the disenfranchisement of the individuals because, according to them, we vote at polling stations and not within electoral areas.
No, but the biggest example I can give you is in the just ended registration exercise. You realize that you have 4 polling stations coming together to form a cluster. If you have looked at the document, you realize that contrary to what the commission is working with, polling stations that the commission operated during the registration, many are missing in these electoral areas that we are talking about. People are just not taking their time to look at what issues we raised with it. It's not just about, for me, there's the electoral areas, the polling stations are a subset of the electoral areas. Now that's where the activity happens. And truly, polling stations have been left out. And so it was not just an issue of an NPP matter, except to say that all the other people, apart from the NPP who raised it, had whatever concerns that the NPP is supposed to have. So please, I think that we had very legitimate concern, and the fact that you still have errors with it, testifies to the fact that we had the case. I mean, one of the arguments was about the timing of the whole exercise. Again, those who joined us in this crusade all attested to that. The commission feels that, yes, it had the mandate to go through. We, as a law-abiding party, have had to comply since it became law. And we have subsequently gone to elect our parliamentary candidates.
Okay. But Martin, what do you think will be the effects of these errors that we are saying exist within the CI?
The effect is that the commission would have to, in the commission's operations, it's safe to suggest that those do not exist. But they do, because they have been omitted. In fact, there are other areas which have not been created, which do not exist, that found themselves onto the document. That is the kind of problems that we are dealing with. I'll give you an example. If you go to Myon, in the northern region, our candidate whom we elected last year as the parliamentary candidate had the community or the area polling stations that lies within the community where he hails from, moved from Myon to Yendi. In the sense, the person lost his eligibility to contest for elections in this area.
That's a serious problem.
Very serious problem. And that is just not. If you go to Okaikwe North, the NDC is boiling up over the candidature of Okaikwe. Is it what?
Andrew Okaikwe.
Andrew Okaikwe. Yeah. The same problem. After this creation of constituencies, where he hails from, where qualified him to contest, had been moved into the other side, central. And so he's being asked to go to central, whereas he also wants to stay in the north. And this is the extent of recklessness that we are talking about that has been brought onto us by the mistakes of those who came up with this CI.
But now the CI has become law. The NPP has proceeded to elect some parliamentary candidates. What is the position of the party now?
Our position is this. We are fully going to compete these seats fiercely with all the parties. We have done our checks, and contrary to fears or speculations that the NPP had something to run away from, not at all. We do believe that we are going to win majority of these seats. And when I say majority of them, I mean more than any other political party will do. And this is not just based on rhetoric. It's, any student of politics can put pen to paper and begin to do some arithmetic of these places in terms of vote patterns, in terms of current political dynamics, and you know what we are talking about. The NDC knows that we will win majority of them. So the argument that we're running away, that's really not wash.
Okay. So the party is willing and able to compete in all of these things. But the NDC is also putting up an opinion.
If I can, before you come, the only thing that will stop us is, you know, some other persons have gone to court.
Yeah. And
so this matter is still before the courts. I think the next date for hearing of which a possible judgment
17th.
may come, is it 24th or 17th?
We've had 17th and 24th,
yes.
2 days.
It's also possible that the courts may stop EC from proceeding because of the obvious illegalities that are being perpetrated. If that happens, then of course we all are stopped from contesting these seats. Otherwise, we are going to engage fully in them.
Okay. Now, looking at that, the NDC has come up with a position that we are going to have to sweat to gain anything from these 45 constituencies, putting out the argument that we're trying to stop the development of these constituencies and thus the development of the residents in those constituencies. How do we defend that position?
That statement is specifically attributed to the General Secretary of the NDC,
yes.
My only advice to my senior brother is that you should wake up from his slumber. That is purely political wish thinking. and he better had been a political realist. Mr. Rawlings, I believe, as former president, as the stature that he has, is exposed to volumes of information. Mr. Rawlings is supposed to be, the last time I checked, still the founder of the NDC. Of the information that is exposed to, he feels that the NDC is going to lose a great deal of seats in this election. He told the party in Kumasi, maybe Mr. Siodun Keti hasn't heard, or in his usual abrasive mood, he's just disregarding it. But he better get to the ground, and he would know that he will have to revise his notes. They are losing, and a lot of seats that they hold already are not going to hold. How are you going to tell me that we will sweat to win any of the seats in the Ashanti region? How do we sweat to win any of those in the central region?
Okay.
Come to Greater Accra.
But looking at where you sit in that unique position as the director in charge of research and elections, do you think that the timeliness of this for creation of 45 constituencies will affect the quality of the candidates that we as a party will put up, and as well all other political parties?
Not necessarily. You see, my brother, these constituencies have not been created from, excuse my language, the moon or anywhere else, except from those ones that exist. Those ones, many of which NPP already holds and has MPs. What we have done, or what has been done, is that take, say, you, Mr. Opon, as a constituency, and you have been split into two. And so some part of you is going to be called constituency A and the original one, or vice versa. The people who got elected yesterday are people who have lived in these constituencies, members of the NPP, have been engaged in serious work. Many of them have even put themselves up for elections to become parliamentary candidates last year. Some lost by single votes or less than 10. Very close contest. Their popularity is not in question. Their hard work is, not in doubt. And therefore, I find it difficult to understand how any of this is going to have any challenge. In any case, why? This whole road to this 45 has been back and forth over months. And people have had to be conscious, people have done a lot of work, all in preparation to this day. If it came fine, if it did not, then that's it. And so they are not new, and these constituencies are not new to us. We know the dynamics of it. The only thing that changes is that 45 constituencies have been created. But so to speak, they are 90. Because, like I used you as an example, if you are a constituency and part of you have been taken out, that part that has been taken out will be the stronghold or the weak area of Party A or Party B. What it means is that once that part has been taken out, the real dynamics in the original constituency has changed a bit. And so you may want to consider all of them as new, because they no longer hold the unique dynamics that existed before the split. And so we at the NPP consider these as 90. And I don't think that there's any difficulty at all.
Now, coming back to it, contest always comes with a lot of bad feelings and a lot of agitation. How is the party prepared to deal with the agitations that are going to come as a result of the contest that was held yesterday? People will not necessarily agree with each other over winners, and a lot of bad blood will be generated.
You are right, but in this instance, no. What the NPP has done is that we've perfected our process of electing parliamentary candidates over the years. You may recall that for the very first time in history, we conducted primaries for 220 constituencies last year, and after a month or two, added the extra 10. Never have you heard the usual bickering, division, the results of some even going independent and so on and so forth. We have never had any of those. What we did yesterday, you really do not find any bitter concerns coming from anybody. The trick is simple. We have tried as much as possible this time to make the level very even for all participants. Very transparent. And everybody, as far as I'm concerned, has felt more comfortable with the framework for organizing this process. Gone are the days where people will complain of, I had to attend vetting, and I was given a different date by some people who did not like me. So when the vetting is happening in Center A, the person is working in Center F. Some people feel that, look, I've been given a raw deal because I was not made aware of ABC. We've been so transparent right from the opening of nominations to vetting, even camping of delegates. One major issue that has most times triggered conflicts or disagreements. It's something that we stood firm on our grounds to make sure that nobody contravenes that, at least on the day of the election or the day preceding. You have people camping delegates midnight to the election. All of these things have been done away with. And so you get the impression that most centers that I visited yesterday, I may not want to put names, but you go here, there are 400 delegates. The winner won by some 200 votes. And yet you find the entire delegates trooping in support of the winner. And so you ask yourself, who are those who voted and who did not vote for him or her? And that is the spirit in which yesterday's event came. There was a lot of enthusiasm. The ground felt extremely energized, and the party is poised for action. Luckily for us, this is happening in the thick of the season, political season. So it all added to the euphoria. And I'm sure that the grounds have been well energized, well enthused after yesterday's event. We are not hearing any bickerings as anybody would fear.
Would have wished.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's okay.
Fairness is the name of the game, and that is what the New Patriotic Party is proceeding to do. We'll take our first break and come back. The mystery of the 45 new constituencies is being demystified today with the Director of Elections and Research himself, Martin Ajay-Mensah Kosa, here in the studios with us. So far, we've managed to look at the issues surrounding the 45 new constituencies, what the NPP's real position is, and how we are beginning to prepare ourselves for the new constituencies. Mr. Director, so now all of that has gone on. We've done a very good job. We have now elected new parliamentarians. First of all, have we elected them for all the 45 constituencies now?
Yes, we have all the 45. The latest one is Krachi in Chumuru, which went into a tie yesterday at 10 p.m. And so we had to defer that to this morning, the rerun. It's just been done this afternoon, and the clear winner has emerged. So all the 45 are in place. But remember, ours was 46 because of the sad passing to glory of our candidate for Jumako Enyane CM.
Okay.
And so we had to do one day to replace him. Okay. So it came to 46, sorry.
Some very interesting names came out.
Yes. Interesting from the way you look at it. Quite a number of sitting MPs lost their bid to come back in the last primary that we did, the one preceding the 45. It looks like with two who did not turn lucky enough, all the rest have done a comeback. And it's quite interesting. I mean, if you go to Akim Swedru, where the MP lost, I think he's also the one that didn't come through. But if you go to Fantiakwa, Amankwaya Siama is back in the race. If you go to Okaikwe North, Elivesaki is back. If you go to Efia Kwesimin team, he did not even file. He bowed out not to contest. Having come back, you get the impression that it was not truly his will not to contest. Something may have not pushed him to go. But he's back. And so the earlier situation where he was going to be missing from Parliament is changed. And so this has brought a lot of blessing to many people. The unfortunate ones are, I think, Ashon now in Tema East, who failed to make it yesterday, the second time at our primaries. And then the Ahafo Ano South MP, Baladu Menu, who moved to Tatale in the northern region. And unfortunately, he also lost by 49 votes. Okay. So these are, I think, the unfortunate MPs who could not make it. But the rest must be smiling. They had their day yesterday. It was their best day. And I wish them good luck.
Come back to me, come back to me. That's what the people of Ghana seem to have said to those fortunate MPs. I'll make an intervention here. On the line, we have Kwabena Boedu, Press Secretary to Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, the Vice Presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party. Kwabena Boedu, can you hear me? Hello?
Hello, Nana, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, loud and clear. How are you, my brother?
We are fine. We are fine by His grace.
Where are you at this moment, and what is happening? Hello, Kwabena? Hello, Kwabena? Okay, unfortunately, it looks like we've lost him. It looks like we've lost him. But going back to the issue, so some people went out, some people have come back. You, from where you sit, control the information. How do you feel that on the ground, the parliamentary candidates are getting ready? Are they ready for the vibe? Is there excitement, or is just business as usual in a dull, dreary mode?
Well, generally, there's a lot of excitement, and there's a lot of hope, and people feel that these guys have a lot to offer. If you look at the primaries for last year and even the 45, you see a lot of, or the emergence of a lot of young guys, okay? I get the impression that the youth agenda seems to be catching up, and the spring environment is in these two parties. Though we have many more than them. The female aspect is also good. So far, the NPP, we managed to bring about 7 women in here, or in the game yesterday. Last year, some 24 women. And so it makes the NPP the party that is putting up the most number of women for this 2012 election. And so, of course, ceding about nearly 30% of your seats to women, I think is worthwhile. And so, a lot of surprises. There's a lot of enthusiasm that is coming with the emergence of new faces, though some new old ones are also coming in. For the old ones, I think that their constituents feel that they are not done with them yet. I think I left one out. If you go to Obuasi East, Edward Enin, he lost. Yes, he's also made a comeback. So I think it's to them, it looks like their constituents feel that they are not done with them yet. They still have a lot to do with them. And then the new ones that are coming in also, people feel that let's give the youth a chance. Women involvement is also high. So it's good. The NPP has got a blend of 4 factors that I'm sure will inure to their electoral.
Let's shift from the intellectual discourse and look at the politics of it. Some very interesting names. Anthony Cabo.
Yes, a very enthusiastic young man, very ambitious. He decided to give it a try, and he came up successful. I think it's a good sign. He did not go in there alone. From the youth front, I think you have Eastern Region, where the regional youth organizer, Anodopre, also braved the storm. I mean, went through it. It's also come successful. There's yet the example of forgotten. There are about 4 of the youth outfits.
Titus Glover.
Titus Glover.
Titus Nikwate Glover.
Finally made it. The last time I spoke to him before the election, he looked poised. I mean, was going to leave nothing to chance. And he was so sure that he was going to carry the day. And so yesterday, when it came, I was like, what did he have up his sleeves? But he made it. And congrats to him.
Well, Kwabena Boedu, can you hear me, please?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. I was asking where Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's campaign has gotten to right now.
Yes, Nana, you know we've embarked on an intensive northern tour within the last month. As I speak, we ended the Upper East Regional Tour yesterday. It was a 7-day tour, and we brought it to an end yesterday in the constituencies of Boko, Zebila, and Pusiga. So we've ended the Upper East Regional Tour. Dr. Bawumia has taken some few days break. He's now in Accra, and he will head back to the Upper West region, at the end of this week. Okay.
Now, on your tour, we've seen some very interesting pictures, especially the Paulugu tomato factory.
Yes. It is something which amused all of us and surprised us. This is a factory we were told by the NDC had been revived. We remember the sector minister had paid a visit to the factory if my memory serves me right, in 2010.
Yes.
She even urged all farmers in the Upper East region to grow tomatoes and told them that the factory was now on its feet. And at the factory, the machines, the NDC had done so well, and the machines were working so well to the extent that they were even considering processing mangoes and other fruits and vegetables aside the tomatoes. They went ahead to put it in their green book and trumpeted it as one of their major achievements. This is a factory, as we all know, which was set up by our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The factory went defunct. The NPP administration, around 2007, decided to revive it. We pumped in so many millions to put the factory back on its feet. Unfortunately, we lost power at a time we hadn't fully finished reviving the factory. The NDC took over and somehow destroyed with their mouths. Obviously, everything that we did, they said we had just wasted money there and that they had put in a few millions and now the factory was on its feet. So we go to the Talensi constituency and Dr. Baumia said, look, let me pay a visit to the factory, interact with the workers at the factory, see how processing is going on, see if they have any challenges which can be addressed once we take office. Unfortunately for us, we got to the gate of the factory and the factory virtually had been deserted. There was no one at the factory. We managed to enter. The factory was really the only moving objects we saw at the factory were goods. Seriously speaking, machines were not working. There were no human beings. Aside the goods, what you could find was some stockpiles of corn, which had rotten. The equipment the NPP had imported, which cost several millions, had been left to rot in the sun and in the rain. And it was very unfortunate that this is a government we've entrusted with our resources, with our will. If this government continues to deceive us day in, day out about things they've done, then it's serious, because every government is supposed to have some credibility. Now, what happens when anytime our government tells us something, we have to doubt them. We have to find out whether it's true or not.
True or not.
Baumia visited the Buipri Share Not factory a couple of months ago and almost found virtually the same thing there. The factory was commissioned. We all know the factory is a produce buying company factory. Somehow the NDC went to commission it. They told us it was a SADA factory. And it's interesting that is what is happening in the north these days. The other time we were in Bimbila. On our way to Bimbila, we saw one tractor on the road clearing some of the potholes and all that. The next day, before we knew, they had splashed it all over that SADA was constructing the Bimbila road. Now everything that happens in the north is somehow attributed to SADA. So they commissioned this Not factory and said it was a SADA project. Dr. Baumia again decided to visit the factory to find out how work was going on, only to get there to be told that after 4 months, 5 months of commissioning, not an ounce of share oil or share butter had been produced by the factory.
Wow. Commander, these are very, very interesting times. But to move on, how are the people, or how did the people in the Upper East region receive Dr. Baumia, and what was he telling the people of the region?
Yes, the people of the Upper East region received Dr. Baumia very well. As you know, before the Upper East region, we were in Brahafo. Then we moved on to the Northern region, then to the Upper East region. Just like all the regions we had been to, the people had really accepted the NPP's message. What one finds across the country is that there is strength in the NPP message. Our message of free education has gone down well with the people. Our message of transforming the economy, creating jobs, our message of revitalizing the National Health Insurance Scheme has gone down well, very well with the people of Ghana. Now, this has been coupled by the fact that the NDC has virtually brought development to a standstill across the country. There has been a major stalling of projects in the country. In Brahafo, for example, the NPP, there are towns in the Wenchi constituency where we visited. These are like 4 or 5 towns. The NPP was able to give them electricity poles. We wired them. We gave them transformers. We even ensured that the wires were connected to the various houses. Now, all that is left is for the NDC to give the houses meters and connect electricity to the houses. 3.5 years, the NDC has not been able to do it. And these things are replicated all over the country. There are roads the NPP started. the roads are still the same form we left it. Not an inch of tarring has been added, nothing has been done to it. So, coupled with the NDC's mismanagement and general incompetence, the NPP strength on the ground is really amazing. Now, the North is a place we've not done too well since 1992 or in previous elections. But what we are witnessing is that everywhere you go, the people now understand the NPP. The people now understand the fact that they've really voted for the NDC for the past 20 years, but they've not seen any significant improvements in their lives. Now, if they compare that with the NPP in 8 years, they saw at least the National Health Insurance Scheme, they saw school feeding program coming into their communities, they saw major infrastructural development, and they think that, look, this time we have to go with the NPP and witness more of such developments. Generally, the people also think that the NPP is more sensitive. We had this situation where, before we got to Bimbela, we were told of a situation where the anti-snake syrup under the NPP was free. Because farmers in the north and all over the country, you cannot be assured of being free from snake bites when it's time for farming. So the NPP made sure that it was free. Once you were bitten by a snake, immediately you were rushed to the hospital. You got this for free. Somehow the NDC came into office and immediately scrapped that policy and is now charging 1 million for the anti-snake syrup. Unfortunately, some officials in some hospitals, few officials, if I may say, have also been able to collude that, to the extent that the 1 million even being charged has now increased to 1.5. And once a farmer gets bitten by a snake, you need about 2-3 of these serums before you can be completely healed. And a farmer struggling so much to feed the nation, a farmer who is as impoverished because he is not really supported, having to cough up almost 5 million to ensure that he doesn't die is really, really insensitive. So all these factors, coupled with the strength of the NPP's message, as I have said, have ensured that the NPP has really gained acceptability on the ground. Dr. Bawumia has been talking about the free SHS program, for example. He has been explaining why it is necessary that we ensure that money is no longer a barrier in education, because in a country where there are more poor people than the rich, if money continues to be a barrier in education, it means that only children of the rich continue to be in school and the poor suffer. He continues to tell them that this is not a policy which cannot be implemented at an age and day when people are going to Mars, when countries are sending people to the moon and all that. This is a policy which has been implemented in several countries, including African countries. Uganda, for example. Last week we had the president of Botswana. He was in this country. He was telling us that Botswana has a literacy rate of over 90%, and this is really credited to the free education policy they instituted some decades ago. So Ghana cannot wait any longer to implement this free education policy if we are serious about building a competitive skill base and competing globally and making sure that we have space in the global environment to build our economy, to create jobs, to build our industries and all that.
So, Kamala, I get the impression that the message has sunk very well with the people and they are waiting for an NPP government.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for helping us with your submissions on the visits of Dr. Bawumia. We'll come back to you probably on Wednesday for more information.
Okay, thank you very much, Nana.
And with that very brief intervention from Kabna Buedu, we'll take our second break and come back. Welcome back to the show. We are with Mr. Martin Agyemang-Sakosa. We were discussing the issue of the youth involvement in this particular 45 constituency saga. We've seen some very interesting names, and I get the feeling that the youth of the party are beginning to get excited. Not only excited, but more involved. You look at, you've mentioned many of the names. How do you see it?
Well, like I said, they are bringing on board some very interesting angles to this whole game. And for me, it's very necessary because we need to continue to groom people and, keep a succession plan as a party. It's good for politics. And so it's a good start. I think that the next parliament is going to see a lot of young people, and the NPP is going to throw in a chunk of them there, and I think it will be good. It will just be good, yes.
Okay. So, viewers, the numbers you can join this discussion with on are 03022117012. I repeat it, 03022117012. Now, going back to the discussion, so you'd also notice that aside all of this, the NDC is claiming ownership of these 45 constituencies. They've come out to make a very strong case. And they are also saying that they've put out a very strong presence in terms of youth. Several key high-ranking members of their party have also gone out to look for position. How do we balance this with the NPP's position on this matter?
Well, first of all, I think the NDC cannot claim any ownership of these constituencies. The NDC itself knows. Unfortunately, in the run-up to this whole passage of the CI-78, it became more of a psychological warfare for the NDC. If the NDC had lost, or if, for example, if the Electoral Commission had not been able to proceed with the passage of this by Parliament, the NDC felt a certain feeling of defeat and interpreted that on the electoral fortunes, so to speak. And so they were hell-bent. If you look at all that happened, the fact that genuinely the Commission alluded to the arguments of people, especially within the NPP and others who thought like them, that yes, there were problems, where the Commission subsequently had to withdraw most of them. But in the particular instance of the third one, which has finally been passed into law, the Commission remained adamant and was still not budged and has finally been passed. You ask yourself, what is it that the Commission stood to gain by acting in a way that disenfranchises a lot of people? But that is where people just oppose and make their own inference. For the NDC, and there are much noise about it, was more of a psychological warfare. They need it so they don't feel defeated. But the fact of the matter is, like I have told you, if you go around, we've just been given a vivid picture of what the picture or the scenario is across the country. You come face to face with poverty. People cannot put body and soul together. You have people who had their last meals yesterday. They are yet to find where the next will come from. I walked down Labadi and met a lady who fries donuts and had been out of business for nearly 6 months.
Wow.
Because of lack of gas. Similarly, a taxi driver who approached me for some conversation has had nearly 2-3 months of no work because there is no gas to fuel. And when they run on petroleum, they run at a loss. That is the stark reality that people are faced with. School fees have become a problem. There are parents who had no hope until the NPP's hope of a free SHS came about. So there are real problems that people are grappling with across the country. And all of this translates into people's mindset on elections. If you go everywhere, I mean, why? The Akufo-Addo has had to do these nationwide trips nearly 5-6 times.
So you think that the tour to restore hope is working?
It's working. I mean, not just that. If the NDC had their ears on the ground, the tour to listen, the listening tour, they had to get some BNI national security officers to trail Nanado, to pick signals. There are places where Nanado went and people voiced out what their concerns were. They tried to quickly go and try to, they know what it is. Nanado has prompted them to act. Unfortunately, they create the impression as if all is well. That is how Asiedun Ketia can tell us that they are going to win majority of the seats around.
Okay. Now, for those members of our party who feel that the 45 constituencies have come on and so we've lost the general elections, what do you say to that?
Not at all. I can tell them that the NPP is going to win majority of those seats.
And that's not just political.
If the traditional dominance of areas is anything to go by, what the NDC has is about 17 out of this 90. I tell you, I'm not comfortable calling them 45 because they really are not 45. There are 90 constituencies. Because when you split one constituency into two, what you have done in effect is to take away some polling stations
from the old one,
and so it affects the entire dynamics. So we are dealing with 90 constituencies. Let the NDC come and challenge. This document is so easy. Anybody on the street may not have to conjure pure science. Okay.
I hope you don't get attacked tonight for this document.
I mean, they are losing this election. What they can lay claim to in terms of political dominance from these parties, call it strongholds, what have you, it's just about 17 of them.
And this is
out
not
of the
political
90,
talk?
Not at all. Not at all. The NDC knows it. Except to say that in politics, it's like real life. Nobody goes to a war front and beats their back. They'll beat their chest, even when they are down with a fall. So the NDC is just struggling. And when you are getting drowned, you may even want to clinch onto a straw. That's exactly what they are doing. They've lost face. We are not just saying it. The founder of their party, I alluded to earlier, who is exposed to volumes of information on what is going on in this country, has told them the biggest prediction that the NDC is going to lose the majority of seats.
Let's shift our attention to the entire election across the totality of the country.
Right.
From where you sit, you are the director of elections, you're the director of research. Let's go to the research angle. How is the party going to fare in the upcoming elections?
The party will do fantastic. Nana Akufo-Addo has endeared himself to the ordinary Ghanaian. People are grappling with, what it is. Or let me put it this way: you have a government that flew to power on the wings of promises. All the nice promises that ought to have improved people's lives is just diminished. They no longer want to talk about the promises that they made. You have a party that faked so much hope for the Ghanaian. You have a party that put juicy promises and timed them. Within 100 days, Ghanaians were going to see a certain rapid change. Within 1 year, within 2 years, and within 4 years. All of these have become a mirage. Go and see how poverty levels of people are worsening by the day. Go and see how people just, cannot believe that they ever queued up on promises that today the NDC 8 sub-brands away from. All of this, for me, has exposed the NDC for what they are. If you go around the country, people ask, you hear a lot of talk about developments elsewhere. And the NDC strategy is this. They will go and stand in Pandai and say, go to Bolga and see the many developments that are going on there. They will catalog a whole lot of them, including schools under trees. You go to Bolga and then you'll be pointed to go to Tumu. So it's been something of a wild goose chase.
A wild goose chase. Okay.
You go up nowhere.
So what you're saying is that because of the fact that the NDC has failed in the promises, and the fact that our candidates, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, has been across the country to endear himself, we look very good in the upcoming elections.
I mean, largely, by and large, many Ghanaians feel that the most responsible and capable pair of hands to manage their affairs and bring them some hope, restore some dignity into human life, is the NPP and Dr. Bawumia.
Okay. Now, from where you sit,
right,
from as director of research, do you think that the Rawlinses move away from the NDC and the creation of NDP will have any effect on the NDC and, by extension, the chances of the NPP in this election?
Well, let me proceed this way. The NPP's strategy or strength has not ever been based on a weak NDC. I believe that the way the NPP is gone about its work, its campaign, its strategy, it's as though the NDC was the most formidable and yet strongest party to beat.
Okay.
I don't think that
I would have to catch you here. And then, Zion, why?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
And good evening to your listeners. Thank the research officer very well for me. He's doing a wonderful job. Let me assure Ghanaians that the NDC has lost the election many months ago. Let me give you this simple analysis. Take the whole of Upper East region.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, they have 15 constituencies.
Yes.
Assuming that we have given all to NDC, may God forbid. Take Upper West region. They have 11 constituencies. Assuming that we have given all to the NDC, may God forbid. Take Northern region. They have 31 constituencies. Add them. And then add Water region, all to NDC. Come to Eastern region. You have NPP taking about 29 constituencies.
53.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have 23. NDC will win 4, and the NPP will win 29.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Burn-a-Half. Assuming that NPP wins 19, and NDC wins 10. Come to Ashanti region.
Zion.
47 constituencies. Let me conclude.
Okay.
NPP will win 40. Then NDC will win 7. When you add it all, you realize that NPP will have 88 constituencies plus minus. Because it's possible that NPP will win constituencies in Upper West, Upper East, and Northern regions. That means that in 7 regions, NPP will be leading in constituencies.
Okay.
That is telling Ghanaians that we don't have Greater Accra, Western, and Central to determine the election.
Okay.
So
Okay.
NDC, they have lost the election, but to prepare their back and budgets and ready to lead and hand over to Nana Akufo-Addo come December.
Thank you very much, Zion. We have Kissinger.
Very much, Zion. We have Kissinger. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good evening to you, my brother.
Kissinger, can you please lower the TV set in the background? We are having a lot of feedback.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I will appreciate that.
Yeah. My brother.
Yes.
I want to tell you this. Now, the voter region now, I'm calling from Qatar.
Yes, sir.
The place that our former president born from.
Yes, sir.
My brother, these people, these NDC people, they like propaganda. What they didn't think about to do, they are always deceiving people that they do this, they do this, they do this. And now, we are, as the youth in the sector now, we know that NDC is a propaganda party. It is a party that nobody can never trust in this nation. So I am showing you that December 7th, we are going to declare Nana Akufo-Addo to a president of Ghana, because they said they built 400 and something schools in the voter region. As of now,
Okay.
I am talking to you now. They didn't commission even one. As of now,
Okay. Kissinger.
they didn't commission even one.
Kissinger.
As of now, I am talking to you. So we are going to vote massively to the Nana Akufo-Addo.
Thank you very much for promising to vote for Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Adamu from Yendi.
Good evening.
Good evening, my brother. How are you?
Fine, sir. Good evening to your listeners. I'm calling from Yendi.
Yes, sir.
President last came to 3 days ago. The man has lost focus. He has lost focus. He came to commission the death trap in Yendi. They built some one-story building. I don't know how to describe the story building. The man didn't say anything. They have lost. After Yendi, NPP, we have won. We have won already. So we are praying that come 7th December, Alhaji Habib Tijani will move the whole Yendi to capital.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sebastian.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. I want to thank the panel over there for the work done.
Okay, Sebastian, where are you calling us from?
Yeah, from Techiman.
Okay. How's the place?
Oh, everything is under control. Yeah, I have a problem with this NPP. Concern their free education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Caucus government, they introduced the feeding education.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we are thinking that it was under pilot basis. NDC came and took over. They continued, but they were not able to cover all schools. So I was thinking that Akufo-Addo should have pointed that particular scheme out in his manifesto, so that all schools which were not under the scheme should be covered before we move ahead with the free education. But it seems that one is missing in the manifesto.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Sebastian, thank you very much for your
your
contribution. I will try and find time to squeeze in that. But to answer you directly, the school feeding program has not been abandoned totally by the 2012 manifesto of the NPP. We are saying that we are going to look at education as it exists broadly. We are just going to redefine basic education, bring it to include senior high school education, and deal with all the problems en bloc. Part of the problem is the non-existence of school feeding in some of the schools. I'm right to say that majority of the schools. So it is part of the educational policy. However, you bear with me the fact that the free SHS is what is making the headline, because that is what most people find interesting, that is what most people find intriguing, and that is what most people want to hear about. However, the policy is very, very comprehensive. I can assure you that they are doing stakeholder meetings across the country. We are soon heading for Sunyani and Takwa and other areas. And so if you can find yourself at one of these venues as the drafters of the policy come and explain it to you, it will do all of us a majority of good. But coming back to the studio, Mr. Martin Ajay Mensah-Kosa. So finally, what are your final words to the people? CI 78, the law that has been created, 45 new constituencies and the politics thereof.
Well, I think the seats are up to be contested fiercely by all the parties. The NPP, by yesterday's activity, has all its men in place, men and women, if I should say, and we are going to compete fairly for our share of these seats. And I dare say that we are making the greatest gain out of this, and let the NDC be prepared for that debate. It's going to be very, very humiliating. You have nearly the entire 4 swing regions of Ghana deserting the NDC. If you follow up on the feeling, the mood in these regions, you get the impression that the NDC has a lot of hurdle to clear. And so we will just tell the NPP not to be complacent. Let us still keep the work. We will expect to find a lot of intimidation. The rigging machinery is fully in place, but let us resist it with all the forces at our disposal. We will not allow ourselves to be intimidated, and we will not allow the mandate of Ghanaians to be
taken away from them.
No, it's stolen, not taken away. It's stolen from us. So let us be vigilant.
Ghanaians, the verdict is out there. We should not allow the mandate of the Ghanaian people to be stolen from us. The founder of the NDC party himself has come out to say that we must be very, very vigilant in the upcoming elections. For those who think that it is going to be an easy battle, we say that we know it is not, but the battle is the Lord's. Good evening, and my name, as usual, is Nana Kofi Opondama. Join us on Wednesday for Minority Caucus.